From American Falls to Malad, we've got the biggest stories in District 5 covered. This is the Southeast Idaho Prepcast with Jordan Kaye.
That's right. It is another edition of the Southeast Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, brought to you by Pure Adrenaline Motorsports, your source for pulse-pounding adrenaline sports apparel and accessories that ensure you have what you need to unleash your inner beast. Brandon Baney with Jordan Kaye from the Idaho State Journal. Jordan, what's going on?
Not much. Just getting ready for some state tournament action.
That's right. State tournament time has arrived in the soccer ranks. And of course, here on the Southeast Idaho Prepcast, breaking out everything that's happening in District 5 week in, week out. There's a lot of good soccer teams that are representing the district well. It's going to be interesting to see how they compete now on the state stage.
Yeah, no, I think that's kind of the thing is, you can compare yourself against Southeast Idaho all you want, but like everyone around here, like always, those Boise teams are looming, or the teams from up north are looming. So this kind of is the perfect chance to get to see them. And I think most of them are in Boise. So the nice part is there should be no snow like there was last year. And I know there were a lot of coaches not happy when their players are kicking around the ball in ankle deep snow.
Yes, it's all in the Banana Belt, aka the Boise Valley over there in the Treasure Valley. So let's start with the conversation of teams that are going to be at state representing District 5. You mentioned it. This is the perfect opportunity to finally find out where you fit in on the state stage, and I can't think of a team that's going to fit that more than the Highland Girls, representing 5A. The number 1 overall seed, undefeated in the regular season. That's why they got the number 1 seed, because they seed it now based upon Max Prep's rankings. They'll start with a district game right off the bat. These were the things we were trying to avoid, but they'll play Thunder Ridge right away, the 8th seed in their first match.
Yeah, this was the 5A District 5-6 championship match, and Highland rolled to a 4-0 win. And I mean, I'd be really surprised if Highland lost. Granted, I haven't seen any of the teams in the Boise Valley or anything like that, but Highland this season is 16-0. Their goal differential is 89-7. They've allowed 7 goals all year. They pitched a shutout, I think, in their last 8 or 9 games. They've got forwards Sage Rebell, who has 27, 28 goals, and then Abby Christensen, who's got 22. I mean, this is a team that is just loaded. Like, such dominance that if their defense maybe kicks the ball once or twice a game, it's like, oh wow, that was a close one. Holy cow. Like the Thunder Ridge game, the Titans didn't even get a shot on goal till 15 minutes left in the game. I mean, it's just pure domination. It's like they're, almost playing against, 5th graders sometimes, it looks like. Highland is that dominant. And I think this is kind of the perfect litmus test to see, are they just that dominant locally or in the entire state? I think there's some, trepidation of being they're just going to roll to this state title because they've only been in 1 close game. So I think that's the one question mark for Highland is, how might they respond to some adversity or getting in a tight game like that? But man, they have all the skill, all the pieces to get it done.
Yeah, when I look at this bracket, the official pick that I've made in all the other Prepcasts is Highland against the 3 seed Boise in the championship.
Okay.
I will admit I have been leaning toward Boise only because this is a Brave team that is used to being at state year in, year out. They've won championships over the past couple of seasons. They have a good, talented team as well. And for Highland, this is kind of new for them, right?
Yeah, last year they won 3rd place in a real snowy field up north, and that was actually their first trophy the program had ever gotten. So last year they went into the state not really with super high expectations. It was we're going to come have fun. Hopefully we can win a couple games. And I think they're going in this year with a much different mindset. We're good enough to beat any team. We should win this. And that, but like you're saying, it's not this is not a Highland program that has a ton of trophies in their case or that has long, tradition of winning. So, maybe that's something that gets them later on. But man, they just look really good.
Yeah, it'll be so fun to watch them compete at the 5A state tournament. No 5A boys teams to talk about from District 5. So let's move on to 4A. Let's start on the girls' side, where the way the bracket sets up, Pocatello gets the number 4 seed overall. They will play 5th seeded Bishop Kelly. That is an awfully difficult first round matchup. BK is somewhat of a dynasty in girls soccer.
Yeah, I saw that bracket and I was like, that is not exactly where you want to line up. And this was kind of an interesting conference all year because if you remember last season, Preston actually won the state tournament, but they had so many seniors and kind of came back this season, just not really as talented. And Pocatello is one of those teams who really was able to jump up and grab that spot. They were pretty dominant all season. They've got, great scorers. Raquel Trogdon's one of them who's just fantastic. And so, yeah, I think Pocatello, they've got a shot, but like you're saying, I mean, this is not exactly a program that has, long traditions or history of winning. And you've got to go against Bishop Kelly that first game. And realistically, I mean, that might decide it for Pocatello. You lose, and obviously, you have, one more game or whatever. You win, and that could just be the confidence boost you need to be like, holy cow, just beat Bishop Kelly. Like, we can run through this whole slate right now. And so that's going to be one of the interesting things is like what happens that first game, and do whoever win that game end up making a long run.
Yeah, I do. I think the winner of that match could springboard all the way to the championship. And for the loser, it would be so deflating that, like especially like if Bishop Kelly loses, I could see them going two in barbecue pretty quickly, just packing it in and calling it a tournament for sure. So, yeah, you mentioned Raquel Trogdon. She's actually a student at Grace Lutheran, right? She plays for the Royals basketball team in the winter, kind of on loaner to Pocatello, and they'll take her, right?
Yeah, no, I thought that was really interesting. I was like, did she transfer or something? And I totally forgot because I think she was even playing some volleyball matches for Grace Lutheran this season too, or just kind of going wherever she could. And so, yeah, just a really dynamic athlete who's like, yeah, I'll play whatever you need, like anytime, any school, doesn't matter.
Yeah. So, yeah, obviously Grace Lutheran doesn't have a soccer program. So co-oping with Pocatello there. So 4A boys, we've got in District 5, right, we've got Preston all the way down at the number 7 seed taking on Hillcrest, the number 2 seed. I actually think this is a very winnable game for Preston. What are your thoughts?
I haven't seen Hillcrest, so I mean, I can't, don't know a ton about it, but the Preston team has been really, really good this season, kind of just consistent, because this was a district that, I mean, they were, just eating each other. It seemed like any team could win on any night. And, Preston actually handled Century pretty well. Had a couple close games against Pocatello. Ended up closing them out in the championship game, which was big. You don't ever want that, if you're the 1 seed, you don't want that sudden death, winner leaves game to decide things. And they've got, Coach Kira Matthews, who's done a really good job with that program. And I don't know a ton about Hillcrest, but, sometimes with these Max Preps rankings, it doesn't when it factors in too much who you've played against, I think sometimes there can be chances for upsets.
Yeah, so Hillcrest in the regular season went 14-2-2. They won District 6, obviously, but I'm not sure District 6 was like so good because you had Blackfoot, kind of a sub 500 team, actually win the district tournament, right? Hillcrest had to battle their way back and win the state play-in match just to get to state. Hillcrest did play Preston way back on the season opener back on August 20th and won 3-1, but that was so long ago that you can't really factor that in. So I think Preston actually has a decent setup there. And then Blackfoot's kind of in your coverage area for the Idaho State Journal, right? And Pocatello as well. They're kind of the Cinderella team, the number 8 seed. Now they'll get to play a Jerome team that I think is overranked. Jerome had a lot of ties in the regular season, and since they didn't have losses per se, that really boosted their stock. So, I know Blackfoot lost Frankie Garcia last year, who was our all-area player of the year, and just was an unreal goal scorer, like just so dynamic on the pitch. And so they lost him, and I think expectations were a little lower for that program. But props to Liam Pope, the coach over there at Blackfoot, for like rallying that team and getting them to peak at the right time and buy into, the program. And man, I think it's kind of all gravy from here, but it'd be really cool if they could win a game or two. Yep, absolutely. I think as we move to the 3A level now, I think this is maybe Southeast Idaho's best shot at bringing home a state title. Obviously Highland girls, we'll see. But
Sure.
when you talk about, let's start with the girls bracket. When you talk about Marsh Valley as the number 4 seed, again, a very difficult opening round draw here, playing Sugar Salem, the 5 seed, right out of the gates.
Yeah, that's for a Marsh Valley team that I lost, I think, 1 game all season. It's really kind of a punch in the gut to be like, oh, here's your first round game, Sugar Salem, like have fun. Not exactly what you want to see, but man, that Marsh Valley team has cruised all season long. Really cool to see that program just be so dominant. I mean, I think they lost 1 game. Most of their finishes, they were winning by 2, 3, 4 goals a lot of the time. I mean, they just kind of dismantled American Falls and Snake River in a lot of these games. And, those are teams that have chances to, get in the state playing game and get there. And so, Marsh Valley, another team that I don't think has been there a ton recently. So it'll be interesting to see how they, deal with the whole state atmosphere.
Yeah, there's a lot of landmines here for Marsh Valley. I think Marsh Valley has the potential to bring home that 3rd place trophy, but let's say they get past Sugar Salem, then you're playing number 1 Fruitland, a team that didn't lose in the regular season. They've got a player, Abby Rubidoux, who's averaging 9 points per game. That's goals and assists.
What?
So if she's averaging 9 points per game, that tells you how many goals they're scoring as a team, right?
How is that even possible? Holy crap.
Right. And then if they got past that somehow, you've got the dynasty at the bottom, the number 2 seed, and really should be the number 1 seed, Coeur d'Alene Charter, right? They've won like 4 titles in a row, and they're just a dynasty at this point. So the Marsh Valley girls, I think, have a good chance of bringing home a trophy. I'm not sure it's the top trophy. And then on the boys side, this is where I think American Falls as the number 2 seed, they're going to play the 7 seed Teton. I think American Falls is set up for a really nice run here. Their side of the bracket looks very winnable to me. And then I think ultimately it would be a matchup with Sun Valley Community School at the top, the number 1 seed.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really favorable matchup for American Falls, because Teton had to play, I think, against Snake River in a play-in game to even get in there. So, American Falls has been able to rest the last couple weeks, and now they're going to a state tournament for the 2nd year in a row. Last year, I mean, they were one of the schools who just got killed. They went to Post Falls, or I think they were got down early, like 1-0, and then the snow just started coming. And I mean, they were playing like the last 30, 40 minutes, just like the ankle deep in powder. And they're just like, what are we doing here? I mean, it's just a terrible, terrible situation. I mean, that program also got hit a ton by COVID last year, and they kind of came back this year with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. Like, okay, we ran into so much adversity last year. Like, let's just come back this season with the fresh slate and see if we can make a run. And man, they have a really favorable seating in that bracket to at least get a trophy, at least. And then if not, maybe just bring home the whole thing and get a gold.
Yeah, I think American Falls is set up for a really nice run. So it'll be exciting to watch and cheer on all the teams from District 5 as they go compete at state. That starts on Thursday, and depending on, Caldwell, Boise, they're all kind of in that same area. So over in the western part of the state. But let's move on to football now, where the big matchup we were all waiting for last week. There was actually a lot of big matchups, but I think the big one people were looking at was that 5A battle between Highland and Rigby. And the Rams, were very competitive in the first half, but then in the second half, Rigby just blitzed past them as the Trojans ended up winning pretty easily, going away 44-21.
Yeah, this is one of those things where last year I remember watching that Rigby Highland game and thinking that Highland was almost the better team, not for like a muff punk near the goal line, a drop pass in the end zone. It's like, man, Highland could have won this game by 10 points and been fine. And Highland had just been rolling. I think they won their last 6 games coming into this one, and I thought they had the defensive prowess and great front seven to be able to stop Tiger Adolfo for Rigby. And I thought they had the offensive continuity and just such a great passing game that, you could really start creating some mismatch problems for that Trojans defense. And it just didn't go that way. And I even heard there was a pick six that Rigby, like a defensive lineman, intercepted Jack Whitmer and took it to the house. And, it just seemed like a lot of uncharacteristic things for Highland. I mean, you were there. What'd you see?
Yeah, so that was the Rigby nose guard, Nick Fangupo. He intercepted a screen pass and almost took it back. He got pushed out around the 4, but man, everybody was really hoping it would have happened. Basically what happened was Highland received the ball to start the game, went 3 and out. Rigby got the ball, scored on a long touchdown run. Highland got the ball the second time, went 3 and out again. And from there, they were really behind the 8 ball. Now, the problem with Highland was they couldn't stop the explosive plays, right? Tiger Adolfo had an 80-yard touchdown run. Zeke Falavai had a 44-yard touchdown run. Jack Whitmer got a big touchdown run of his own. He had like a 62-yard touchdown run. But that was the biggest problem, was they couldn't stop the explosive plays by Rigby. And then, like I said, in the second half, they got outscored. I think it was like 21-0. They just in the second half. Crazy. Yeah, they just didn't have it in the second half. So the question for Highland is, where do you go from here? And I said this on the post-game show on IdahoSports.com. I said, people are going to look at this and all of a sudden think Highland is terrible. Maybe Rigby is just really that good and makes every team look like that, right? Highland could still be the second best team in the state, and maybe just Rigby is that much better. So I think Highland is still just fine.
Okay, that's kind of what I was going with too. My bigger takeaway was Rigby is really good. Not that Highland is dropped down or anything like that. It was, and I think that showed in the polls. I think Highlander made it 4, which I thought was pretty fair.
Yep. So now Highland has to turn around and play Idaho Falls this week.
Yeah.
Idaho Falls is a team all of a sudden that's fighting for its playoff life because they lost to Madison last Friday. So even though Idaho Falls and Highland are both 6-2. Idaho Falls is 1-2 in the conference. And if they lose again, they are out. Even if they win and force a 3-way tie, they would have to be on the right side of the tiebreaker to finish in the top 3. Idaho Falls, I think, is in trouble. Their playoff chances right now, probably like 5 to 10%. So Highland's going to get their best shot. So Highland has to be ready.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a tough one because Highland just killed Madison, just destroyed them. And so it'd be kind of really surprising to me that, a Gino Mariani coach team would, have them just slumping after a loss like that. I think they see Highland is a program that's a perennial power in 5A. They see the bigger picture of these things. I don't think they're going to start dwelling on a loss and end up losing to an Idaho Falls team who lost to a Madison team that Highland just destroyed.
Now, I will say, the Madison Highland played is different than the Madison Idaho Falls played, because Madison made a quarterback change. They took their quarterback, Kieran Valora, and moved him to wide receiver, and they took their starting running back, Ben Dredge, and moved him to quarterback. And Madison is 2-0 since they made that switch, with wins over Thunder Ridge and Idaho Falls. Now, I still think Highland is better than this incarnation of Madison, but I don't think Highland is in any trouble this week. Idaho Falls is going to throw everything at them to try and get a win because they're desperate too. So
yep. That makes sense. I did not know about that, the new look Madison.
Yes, for sure. So, and now Madison probably will make the playoffs as the third team out of the District 5 and 6. Idaho Falls will be on the sidelines, and I guess maybe that's karma for the way they acted against Rigby. Maybe that's just my personal opinion, but
yeah. So Madison's going to be the biggest Idaho Falls fans this week.
No, so Madison, I think, would want Highland to win.
Yep, that's right.
So they could clinch that third spot. So anyways, 4A, the big matchup came with Pocatello and Preston, and the winner of this game, more than likely, we thought was going to win the conference title. This was a tight one, 17-14. Thunder win late, and this was the game you were at, right, Jordan?
Yeah, it was a tight one and an ugly one. I mean, just a lot of turnovers. I think Brecker Knapp, the Preston quarterback, had 3 interceptions. Pocatello in the first half, Ryan Payne, quarterback, threw an interception. Riken Echohawk, uncharacteristically, had 2 fumbles. I mean, it seemed like it was like worse than the game we were at the week before when the teams were playing in rain. It was like, you're in Holterita, like, hold on to the ball. It was just so weird. And it ended up, creating this game where every possession was like for the lead. And there was just Pocatello eventually just kind of found their offensive groove. And in the the fourth quarter, had a really long touchdown drive, which, Ryan Payne, actually it wasn't super long because it came off a turnover. So they had to march about 50, or it was 35 yards. And they took 8 plays in like 5 minutes to go 35 yards. And Ryan Payne eventually punched in from there. But no, this was more about Pocatello's defense keeping the team in it, which has been such a difference all season. It's been the offense, the high powered, get the ball to Reich and Echohawk and Matt Christensen and Ryan Payne and, let them go to work. And this one was, hey, the defense has got to kind of keep us in this, and hopefully we can break through. And eventually Pocatello did. But, I came away very impressed with Preston, though. Very physical team. They know how to run the ball. And then they've got just fantastic wide receivers, like Tyler Linhart, who's just a monster, had a touchdown in the corner of the end zone. They've got talent, and I think they just kind of beat themselves on Friday. Just too many turnovers to overcome.
Yeah, Preston and Pocatello both solidly into the playoffs. For Pocatello, if they can defeat Century on Friday, we talked about they'll win the district. They will get a first-round bye, and according to the Max Preps ratings, Pocatello, as of right now, is still the top-ranked team in 4A, which would mean home field advantage until the championship.
And they know that. They're pretty aware that, hey, we beat Century, we're going to be the top team, which I don't think has ever happened in Dave Spillett's 7 years at his alma mater. They've never won a conference. Granted, they were in the 10-team Great Basin for a long time. But, this is kind of a big year for Pocatello. They're transitioning into the Thunder and look like a really, a team on the verge of having a, 5, 6, 7-year run that, is really impressive. And this is kind of how it starts, and, getting good seeding and then winning those games that you need to win.
Yep. And for Century, they have a lot to play for too, believe it or not, because if Century beats Pocatello, then you've got a 3-way tie for the conference. I'm not sure how that gets settled, but Century right now, if you look at the Max Preps ratings, Century is the second team out, right? Right now, the final at large spot would go to Bonneville. And after that, it's Moscow and then Century. Well, Moscow doesn't play this week, so they can't improve their positioning. Century, with a win over Pocatello, would leapfrog Moscow and probably Bonneville to get that last at large spot, even if they were on the wrong side of the tiebreaker, which is crazy to think about. But Century also has a lot to play for this week.
Wow, that would be pretty impressive. A three-win team all of a sudden jumped into the playoffs. But that says, Century had a fantastic win against Canyon Ridge this week. They were down 14-0 at halftime, mount this, crazy comeback and score a touchdown with less than 40 seconds to go to end up getting a 1-point win. Bruin Fleischman, the big 6'4" Air Force commit, had 150 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns, 10 catches. They have talent, but that Max Prep ranking is indicating they played a lot of good teams, and that's what's kind of made their record a little deceiving. They haven't had a lot of great health. They've had a ton of injuries and played a lot of good teams. And, I don't think that's real indicative of, their talent level.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see Century and Pokey, the rivalry game Friday night as well.
Yeah.
To the 3A level now, where all of the 3A teams played on Thursday night. They had that doubleheader inside Holt Arena. Marsh Valley was up first in a non-conference game with Gooding. They lost 30-18, which I thought was actually more encouraging for Marsh Valley than it was for Gooding. And then in the second game, Snake River basically kept its season alive, defeating American Falls 52-6. So there's 2 at-large spots available, and you've got Marsh Valley, American Falls, and Snake River still all in the mix. Did you go to those games on Thursday, Jordan?
Yeah, hit most of them, yeah. And it was my first time seeing Colston Loveland over at Gooding, and holy cow, is he impressive. Just so big. You're like, oh, which one is he? And then you're like, oh, found him. He's looks like he's double the size of everyone else on the field. I think you're right. I thought Marsh Valley played a really good game, and I was super impressed with Peyton Howe. He's 5'11", 6 foot tall, probably weighs 50 pounds less than Loveland. He was attacking him. Trying to high point the ball, has such a great vertical. And, you'll see that Loveland, he had this many catches or this many yards, but man, it could have been a lot worse. But Peyton Howe, give him a ton of credit for the way he guarded one of the better receivers in the entire state of Idaho. So I was really impressed with that, performance. And then, also Marsh Valley wasn't afraid to run the ball on this Gooding team. I think they, were like, we're going to we're trying to insert our will a little bit. And, they weren't trying to, go away from anyone or do anything. They just ran the ball hard. And, Bradley Belknap, Michael Belknap, both had really good games. I think the one thing that comes from this is their quarterback, Hunter Roche, kind of left the game a little early with an injury. So we'll see if he's back for the final week of the season and, can take them into the playoffs. But yeah, no, I don't think this was real. I think this probably showed that it was a good game for both teams. I think both Marsh Valley and Gooding can come away from, Thursday night's game and be like, all right, yeah, we feel pretty good about ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. Did you see the Harbaughs from the University of Michigan there? That was the big rumor.
Jim was not there, but his son, I think Jay, the tight ends coach, he was on the sideline with some other guy. Yeah, they were just chilling. They were just, walking on the sidelines, like not really, no big deal. It was pretty cool. I mean, it was just this Thursday night game. There's like, I don't know, 400, maybe a couple thousand towards the end that were there. And you're just like, holy cow, there's some Michigan coaches here for this Marsh Valley game. I was like, this is pretty sweet. But yeah, it was cool.
Yep. So now Snake River won the second game 52-6. Snake River finishes 1-1 in district play. And now the big game this Friday is Marsh Valley at American Falls. If the Beavers score the upset and beat Marsh Valley, you've got let's start with, if Marsh Valley wins, they win the conference. Snake River gets the second playoff spot. It's very easy. If American Falls wins, you've got this 3-way tie. And it's going to be settled by coin flips. Basically, if all three teams end up tied, Jordan, they'll all have a coin flip, and whoever wins the coin flip will get the league title. And then the two losers will have a second coin flip to determine the second playoff spot. That sounds horrible to me. That sounds like a terrible way to have a tiebreaker go. So Marsh Valley would be.
That's a great way to settle a tie in 1850. That's awesome. We couldn't use some, advanced analytics, some metrics, maybe points scored. I mean, that's a crazy one. Point differential, something, that we could decide who should win this thing. That's insane. Holy cow. Or, record against common opponents, something.
So many other leagues do what's called a Kansas City tiebreaker, where basically it's almost like a jamboree where the three teams will come together on a neutral site on Monday. Team A will start with the ball at the 35-yard line against Team B. And then the three teams will basically have a mini overtime period from the 35 against one another. And that's how they settle it. So
that's kind of fun. I like that.
Yeah, that happened last year in District 6 with Sugar Salem and South Fremont and Teton. They all had to meet up on Monday, do a little Kansas City tiebreaker. I have no idea why it's called a Kansas City tiebreaker. I just know that it is. So, awesome. So for Marsh Valley, just win. Avoid the coin flip. American Falls has had a nice season, but they're a year or two away. They're very young, and Marsh Valley, I think, should be able to go take care of business, but you never know.
Yeah. Wow. Now I'm somewhat rooting for this coin flip just to see the insanity that would be.
I imagine it being like, did you ever watch the movie Friday Night Lights?
Yeah.
Where they go to the coffee shop in the middle of, or the diner or whatever it was in the middle of nowhere. And that's where they have the official coin, the county sheriff's doing the coin flip.
Just making this big spectacle, like mayors from towns or, they're in attendance or something. Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. So
in reality, it would probably be over Zoom and, really boring.
Yeah, you're probably right there. So that's what's going on in 3A. We'll be watching that Marsh Valley American Falls game very closely. 2A is pretty much set in stone at this point. West Side won the title 53-0 over Aberdeen. Aberdeen and Bear Lake now are going to play on Thursday night for second and third place in the conference. That's a game that we will be broadcasting on IdahoSports.com. I'll be there for that one as Bear Lake travels to Aberdeen. I think both teams are pretty solidly in the playoffs, regardless of what happens here. But Aberdeen really has seemed to lose their momentum.
Yeah, they have. I think Brody Beck got injured too. I don't know if he played against he did not play against West Side. So, that could be a little indicative of why the score was so high. So it'll be interesting if Brody Beck can come back for that Bear Lake game. But yeah, I know we saw their opening win against American Falls, we're like, holy cow, like this team could be like, a top 5 team in the entire classification in 2A. And, I think week by week they've, ran into some problems, some health issues, other stuff, and just haven't kind of sustained that momentum from week 1. And then you've got a Bear Lake team that's got 3 losses, and you look at the 3 losses, and it's Westside, the number 1 team in 2A, Firth, the number 2 team in 2A, and Jackson Hole, which is like practically a 4A team in Wyoming. Like, if those are your 3 losses, like, people can't really judge you on those. Like, you're not supposed to win those games. And so I actually put Bear Lake in my rankings this week. I was like, who realistically has a better resume, better wins than Bear Lake? Like, they're on the up and up. And so that's going to be such a fun matchup that has some implications this week.
I think that's reflected in the Max Preps ratings, because when you look at the 2A rankings, Bear Lake is ranked 5th.
Yeah.
I think the proof's in the pudding there. So that'll be a fun game on IdahoSports.com Thursday night. Aberdeen, Bear Lake. I think both teams make the playoffs.
It actually got moved to Friday night.
It did?
Yeah.
When did that happen? Okay, this is breaking news.
I guess the last week. Yeah, that's what I heard.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's good to know. Maybe we won't be doing that game Friday night. We'll have to double check and see now. This is good stuff. See, this is why we bring you on, Jordan.
Perfect. I'm glad I can help you. I would have loved to have seen you just show up to like a random Aberdeen game at, on Thursday night. Like, we're ready to go, guys. And then no one's there.
All the lights are turned off and nobody's there. Yeah, that would have been very interesting. Okay, so let's quickly go over the 1A stuff. Pretty much everything is set in stone. Basically, just the conference titles will be decided this week. Butte County is going to travel to Grace. The winner of that wins the league. The loser of that is comfortably in the playoffs. And then at the D2 level, same thing with Rockland and North Gem. They're going to meet up in Bancroft on Friday afternoon. Winner wins the league. Loser still into the playoffs.
Yeah, it's all about seeding there. I mean, those are big games just to win for 1, bragging rights, and 2, like, make sure you have an easier path to the state title.
Yep. So either way, I think District 5 and 6 in the 8-man game will be well represented at state. Good opportunities to go deep for several teams. So, all right, Jordan, we've arrived. Next week, we're going to have actual football brackets to break down and talk about. We're going to have district volleyball action to recap and talk about. And we're here. We are at the mecca of fall sports in Idaho.
I know. So what is it? It's 5 weeks until the state title. Is that right? Sound right?
Yeah, I think so. You're counting down, aren't you?
I was thinking about it. I'm like trying to do the math in my head. I think it is. Yeah, because 1 more than 4 weeks of playoffs, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
First round quarterfinal semi-championships. Yep. You're right.
Wow. All righty.
Look at us doing math. Okay. All right. Well, Jordan, real quick, give a plug for what's going on at the Idaho State Journal. What are you working on this week?
Yeah, doing a lot of Idaho State basketball starting up, so trying to work on some stuff for that. And then the football team, not off to the best start on the planet, but still some fun guys to talk about and things like that. And then I think we'll probably be at Holt Arena this week, so we can see the Highland Idaho Falls game and then the Pocatello Century. So anytime you can see all 3 of the city schools on the same night, you kind of got to go.
Yep, for sure. Well, we're looking forward to the fantastic recaps you're going to write around those games on Friday, ISU coverage. Basketball team, I will say real quick, they've got one of the guys that has like the coolest names ever, Tariq Cool, right?
Yeah, Tarek.
Cool. Oh, Tarek. Sorry, Tarek Cool, yeah.
Yeah, Tarek, I think it's so sick. I'm like, dang, that's awesome. And he's from Arizona too, so.
There you go.
More. Yeah.
Yep. All right. That'll do it for this edition of the Southeast Idaho Prepcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. For Jordan Kaye, I'm Brandon Baney. We'll see you back here next time on IdahoSports.com.